Welcome to the Yoga Voice, a podcast by City Yoga, School of Yoga and Health. Our guests discuss how the contemporary practice of this ancient art transforms the lives of individuals and communities in the Midwest and beyond. City Yoga has been a center for the practice of yoga and yoga teacher training since opening in 2002. Join us as we explore how yoga inspires and transforms.
Dave Sims here at the Yoga Voice, and today we have an awesome program for you. So in this episode, I got to talk with a yoga teacher. She's a yogi digital nomad, traveling yogi. She's the CEO of YogiLatin. She's a Thai fascia practitioner. So she's doing a lot of interesting things with her yoga in the world. And we talked about her journey over 20 years as a practitioner and a teacher in central Indiana, and her world travels. And in the community locally, we really had an interesting conversation about looking at diversity and needs within specific communities. We talked about her work with people of color and different communities that she's been able to have an impact on delivering yoga, and the benefits and the subtleties of this ancient practice. We talked about, she's done a lot of traveling and throughout the world, but in particular, she had a very transformative trip to India in the Mysore area. And of course, we touched on all kinds of other topics, from kids and family and school and purpose in the world. But really, it was a very delightful conversation that we could have talked for a couple more hours, I'm certain. And so I hope you enjoy the podcast that we have for you today. And here we go. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is Dave at the Yoga Voice. And we're at City Yoga today, and we're having an awesome conversation with a good friend, YogiLatin. Welcome, Latin.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So thank you for taking the time out to come in and be here today. And I always like to lead off with the question of what's inspiring you about yoga today, either in the world or in your life?
I have to say I am inspired by watching the diversity that's happening in yoga. And to see all humans becoming very aware that yoga is something that needs to be a lifestyle. And that's been a mind passion for me to see that, and watch it grow over the years. And the other inspiration part of it is how yoga has shifted and changed in my own body. And how it feels now versus when I first started, and having the appreciation to still be able to move, and to be still inspired when I'm taking a class, because that sensation, addiction feeling that I love feeling from yoga is still there, and it's never went away. So that inspires me. That's what keeps me going.
Keeps you going, keeps you back on the mat. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I should add to our listeners out there, we have a broad audience in the Midwest and Indiana and beyond, internationally. People, you're picking us up, but City Yoga, we're in our 17th year. I've been here 7. Yeah. Of course, Nikki, and you were in the first teacher training class.
Yeah,
I believe
it was the first.
It was.
It was?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
Yeah. So I looked it up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
I thought it was, but I wasn't for sure.
Yeah. So that's very cool. And have your daughter in the current teacher training class number 34.
Oh, that's awesome. Number 7, 3 and 4.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So.
Wow.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your yoga journey and your life journey. Like what was YogiLatin before the yogi was attached, and what brought you into yoga, and how has it evolved, and where you're at today?
People always say and I noticed it. So taking me back, yoga before Latin was, I started yoga when I was 18 and a half in school at IUPUI. And before that, I was doing yoga but didn't know it was yoga. So I was always flexy and always doing splits, and I was a cheerleader. And so the spirit of it was in me, but I used it in music. So I was in music and I ran track, so I was pretty athletic, and I'm an only child. So my joy was music and keep moving and staying active, because I remember hearing in the media, if you stay active, then you stay out of trouble. So I pretty much stayed active, and to keep me busy, I found anything to do after school. If it was a yearbook program, if it was a music program, if it was any kind of program, I did it. Just to not come home so I won't be bored, because I didn't have brothers and sisters. And so as I graduated and I went off to college, I went to Vincennes. In my 18-year-old thinking, I had came from a childhood of that was dysfunctional. And I didn't know that. So my choice of being involved with a significant other was out of fear. And in that fear, I decided to explore adulthood and with child after that. And so within that, life changed. And so going to college made me come back home, and being involved with an individual that was a little totally opposite from my lifestyle, which was interesting because I always want to fix people, or I always want to please people by cooking. So I was in a household where I cooked a lot while I was with child, and was searching, because I just thought life couldn't be over just because I have a child. And so I put myself back in school while I was pregnant. And while I was in college, I ran across this class that said yoga. And I didn't know what it was. And it was in the athletic part of the section where there was Tai Chi and there was aerobics and things like that. So I decided to pick classes on Saturday that were movement classes. So I took aerobics in the morning, and then I took yoga after that. And then I took, aerobics, Tai Chi, and then yoga. Okay. So my whole Saturday was 8 to 12.
Oh, like back to back.
Back to back to back.
What a great combo.
Right. And I was to the point of picking classes what I wanted. Okay. So I've always been a little of a rebel. And each semester it got like that. Each semester I always had to have that Saturday with an aerobic class, Tai Chi, and yoga. And I did that for about 2 years. Okay. And my first teacher was Lori Collins, which was an Iyengar teacher. And I was inspired by the yoga class when we did Shavasana. In the end, I would always just go somewhere. And that feeling was so great. And I never really paid attention to her words. It's just the feeling when she moved us through the class. And then as the 2 years passed, Lori moved on and a new teacher came in, which was Barbara Badger.
Oh, wow. Barbara. Yeah.
So Barbara Badger was my next teacher. Okay. And she was more of a curvy teacher. So when she came in, my attitude was, oh, how's she going to teach us yoga? And she even mentioned it. She said, I know you guys are probably looking at me thinking, how I'm going to teach you yoga. Yes, the curves are going to teach you yoga. And so she made us laugh, and she made us enjoy yoga differently. She used our bodies and our as examples for things she couldn't do. And she taught well. And so for about a year, she would encourage me to teach. And I didn't really understand what yoga was. I was just flexible and I could do the poses. So it was easy. It was easy for me. It's like I was like a little Gumby of the class. And so I used the yoga every semester. I had to have yoga because it kept me calm and it kept me good through the midterms. And I started loving the yoga more than taking classes, that I found that I didn't want to go to classes. I wanted to just go on Saturdays just to take this class. Well, my relationship started shifting. I think that I was getting more confident and more stronger mentally.
Yeah.
And started seeing things a little clearer. Then I started auditioning for coach cheerleading, and I started trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I slowly parted from that relationship. And because of that relationship, it became very violent.
Okay.
Because I was there on Saturdays, maybe it might have been something else I'm doing. But it wasn't. I was actually chasing that spirit and the feeling. And so I slowly got strength from taking the yoga class and just got on my feet, and I left the relationship. And from there, tension happened for about a year, but I held on to yoga mentally. Mm-hmm. I didn't really stretch on a mat at home. I just held on to there was something else out there for me than this.
Right.
And so I got into dancing more and took dance classes. And then I just started picking the classes I wanted to pick while I was in college. Mm-hmm. And then an individualized degree came into effect in the liberal arts department, because I think they started noticing that a lot of students were doing their own thing, because times were shifting and careers were shifting. So I got into the individualized degree program where you could name your degree if the board agreed.
Okay.
And I was doing small yoga classes, just making it up in the Black community and little dance studios. And I was at home schools, and I would teach the kids alternative schooling for those children who wanted to, they couldn't learn fast enough, or they couldn't keep up with other students. So they would get with me, and we would do more visual work so they could grasp it. And then I also taught yoga for the school. Okay. So every day we did yoga, and I just did based off what I thought my body felt, and I just had them do it with me. And my mother was really athletic. My father was too. And so I caught on pretty fast, and the kids caught on, and we brushed our teeth every day. So it was this regimen that was happening in my life. And I also incorporated that in my life with my children. By this time I was married, and I had one child, and I was pregnant on the way with my son. And I just kept yoga, playing around with it. And I remember when I lived downtown, I ran across the Riley Towers in Indianapolis, Indiana. They were doing a yard sale. And on the floor, on the ground, was this book and these blocks and this strap and this yoga mat. Okay. And I was like, oh, that's that yoga stuff. Those tools, I didn't, at the time, I was like, I need that. And so I think I got it for like $5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I bought the whole thing for $5. It was Hatha Yoga.
Okay. Hatha Yoga. That's interesting. Yeah.
It was I can't remember the name of the book. It was the original book of the lady that was in the white leotards.
Oh, like Lilia's
one? Yes. Yes. And then it was her and this gentleman. And so I was reading through the book and noticing when I was reading it, I never understood the breath part. It's like, I know how to do the poses, but I'm not understanding the breath. So I started playing with my husband, using his body and using my kid's body, and just playing yoga in the home.
Yeah.
And my heart and desire was to be in yoga teacher training. And I knew that it was around, but I didn't know where. So finally I did some research, found out that Barbara Badger was out in Brownsburg. And I knew I couldn't get to Brownsburg. I wasn't driving. I was more of an earthing person, walked and bicycled everywhere. And so I was thinking, well, how am I going to get to Brownsburg? So I just left it alone. And then in 2002, I kept stretching, kept teaching yoga, not certified, at the Urban Consortium, which was a Black center of Black dancers. So was teaching a little bit of that. Marcia Bennett, that was part of the president of Black Expo. So these people knew I was like doing a little bit of yoga and was just inspiring me. She had been to India. So she was saying, I can't wait till you get seasoned, and you can really get certified. We're going to work on helping you get certified. And I was making up flyers, trying to get the churches to do yoga, because I noticed that, obesity was really high in the Black churches, but I couldn't say yoga because that was like a sin. And that's like worshiping the devil.
Yeah.
And so all these perspectives that I was hearing before I became certified was bothering me, because I was like, well, it makes me feel really good. And I know I've been doing yoga for about 6 years now.